Good day to every viewer and subscribers. My discussion is about self-image and self-esteem development. What and how? The significant others. The development of self-image is influenced by the impressions that a person gets from his significant others. This means the person significant to him, like his parents, peers, teachers, or friends. This is also called looking glass self. The impact of the significant others is very strong during the formative years, that is, 1 year old to 6 years old. That is why Simon Freud, the father of psychology, contended that the foundation for the formation of the self and the ego is the first 6 years of life. As an infant, the child gradually recognizes the objects around him, and as he grows, he becomes more aware of himself, and then he forms his self-image out of the treatment he gets from his family, peers, and other significant people in his life. The innocent child tends to believe and to reaffirm what others say about him. As a person matures, his self-concept moves towards greater stability and he forms his own self-identity. He becomes less inclined to change his attitudes, feelings, and ideas about himself and is less dependent on significant others for his self-esteem. Self-esteem and maladjustment. The person's self-esteem, the sense of worth and the value of a person, is anchored on his or her need to be valued. And he feels valued when his basic physical and psychological needs are satisfied fully, particularly during the formative years of his life. When he has experienced deprivations, often rejected rather than valued, he may feel unwanted, that he loses his self-esteem. Deprived of love, he feels unlovable. Being an object of criticism, rejections, or condemnation, he may look at himself as good for nothing, inferior, unlovable, or inadequate. Dr. Eric Berne, the father of transactional analysis, mentioned that in every person is a subconscious recording. The words spoken for or against him, as well as experiences of approval or rejection, are all recorded as part of the tapes that are embedded in his subconscious mind. From the said experiences, the person usually forms his self-concept. When his mother calls him idiot, he tends to affirm he is really one. He is inclined to think that he is a nobody because the people around him make him feel like one by the kind of treatment they give him. But if treated with acceptance, affirmed and acknowledged, respected and not condemned, he is inclined to see himself as a valuable and capable person. Only then will he develop a positive self-image and high esteem. Studies made by Erik Erikson, Simon Freud, and other well-known behavioral scientists indicate a direct relationship between childhood experiences, self-concepts, and abnormal behavior. Their theory states that as we go through life from infancy to adulthood, we have some needs to be satisfied, which are summed up as the 5 A's for healthy development. The 5 A's for healthy development are: 1 is acceptance. It is the experience of being unconditionally loved, being accepted for what we are without conditions, being at home with others. The absence of this result to self-rejection or a deep sense of alienation or isolation. Because of this experience, many people become passive. The second is appreciation. It is the experience of being valued, given importance, or having someone delight in oneself, a feeling of being special to another person. The absence of these results to shame and low self-worth or self-esteem. The extreme polarities may be inferiority or superiority complex. When one is not appreciated, he is inclined to lose self-confidence. He may cover up and prove his worth and power by showing superiority or excellence over others. The third is approval. This is about the experience of being recognized or acknowledged for one's success or achievements. The absence of these results to self-doubt, perfectionism, and fear of failure. Among the manifestations are being workaholic, being a perfectionist, and absenteeism. Extreme polarities are insecurity or boastfulness. The fourth is affirmation. This is the experience of being valued for one's individuality or uniqueness of giftedness. The absence of these results to extreme conformism, poor self-valuing, difficulty or inhibition in expressing opinion and in discriminating. Extreme polarities are invalidation or bragging. And the fifth is affection. This is the experience of being touched caringly, stroked lovingly, and embraced tenderly because one is worthy of being loved and cherished. The absence of this may result in retarded physical and mental development, difficulty in relating with people, fear of intimacy, and insecurity. Extreme polarities are emotional neediness or emotional distance. Deprivation of these basic needs usually lead to shattered self-esteem and various forms of emotional bondages like self-pity, hurts, insecurities, fear, inhibition, torture, the feeling of emptiness, as well as obsessive need for gratification, which are often expressed through antisocial behavior. So in an effort to gratify unmet needs, the individual is inclined towards narcissism, tendencies like obsession and addictions. He can be so obsessed with getting approval and affection by being too much of a people pleaser, being a workaholic or perfectionist, bragging about himself, exaggerating his power and authority. The extreme opposite can be expected. The person self-withdraws, isolates or alienates himself, keep distance or become passive, silent and unresponsive. An individual with unmet needs finds it difficulty to relate in harmony with others because he is more obsessed with winning love rather than in giving love. He seeks to be understood than to understand, to be noticed rather than to pay attention to others' needs. His self-worth and sense of security is dependent on social approval, and he tends to be reactive to rejection and ridicule. Unable to get the expected affection and approval, he starts to feel empty and unhappy. The person with unpleasant childhood experiences may also grow up as an adult with an angry heart inside him that may contaminate his adult life and may cripple him from building happy relationships. In order to shield his threatened ego, the individual with a wounded child in him often resorts to defense mechanisms and facades. He manifests in his outward behavior not his true self, but that which is called fabricating as the false self, the force that makes men vulnerable to sin. A lot of marital relationships and even working relationships have failed because the parties involved are nurturing a wounded child within themselves. These are the behavioral manifestations of maladjustment. Those who are deprived of acceptance and approval in his formative years inclined to be attention seeker, demanding and unable to give love, possessive, and a user who takes advantage of other people, easily hurt, nurtures hatred when offended, vindictive, escapists, that is escaping painful realities maybe through drugs, alcohol, or smoking. If pampered with too much attention and care, the person inclined to be demanding of attention, selfish, that is, they become inconsiderate and conceited. If deprived of recognition and appreciation, he may exhibit dislike and hatred of himself as well as others. Loss of esteem and self-respect. A sense of inadequacy, that is feeling of being rejected. An inability to listen and to understand others. A persecution complex, that is feeling of being a victim at all times. Reactiveness to corrections and criticism. Obsessed with social approval, the deprived adult may result to undesirable antisocial behavior like monopolizing a conversation, bragging too much, proving power and domination by inhibiting others or by aggressive behavior, covering up for inadequacies like being too much of a people pleaser, appearing to know-it-all, competing for power, prestige or attention, defensive or evasive response to correction, and always trying to be pleasing at the expense of himself. A deprivation of the need of autonomy, likewise, may condition abnormal behavior, like obsession for power and domination, defiance and contempt against people in authority, as well as rules and regulations, rebelliousness and disobedience, rigidity, compulsive obsessions, that is being too perfectionists, too clean, too orderly. Many adolescents and teenagers who are rebellious are fixated in the area of autonomy. Most of them grow up in a suppressive environment, obsessed with freedom to run their life. They tend to run away from home or to rebel against parental roles. On the other extreme, they may manifest intensive inhibition and compulsive compliance. They may also turn out to be obsessed with perfection, a pathology known as obsessive compulsion. The wounds of the past are bandages with us. Most of our present behaviors are related to our past, rooted in our need to compensate for what our childhood has derived us with. Thank you and God bless.